Time for the lunch break there, and court resuming at 1:45 this afternoon. It was in early January this year that these 25 claimants filed a 160 million rand lawsuit. Effectively, they're accusing the Mbeki administration of suppressing cases referred to the NPA by the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, at the time. Now, the TRC sat between 1996 and 2001, so this would have been just some time after our first democratic election, and it referred more than 300 apartheid-era crimes for investigation, for further investigation and for possible prosecution. But there were protracted delays, and the TRC's recommendations resulted, of course, in dozens of alleged perpetrators dying before they could be held accountable or before they could give their side, their version of events. Let's discuss this further with Jos Venter. He's an attorney at Wentzel this afternoon. Jos, it's good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for your time. I want to talk about the issue that this case is hearing and what Thabo Mbeki and Brigitte Mabandla, the then President and Justice Minister at the time, what they're wanting to do here in terms of intervening in this case.
Good afternoon, Michelle. Thanks for having me. As you correctly said in your introduction, in January this year, 25 survivors and families of victims of apartheid-era crimes sued the government for constitutional damages, effectively for failing to investigate and prosecute apartheid-era crimes that were referred to the National Prosecuting Authority by the TRC when the TRC concluded its work in 1998. The applicants in that family alleged that the government, and primarily under the administration of former President Mbeki, interfered in the politically interfered in the investigation and prosecution of the TRC cases. In the founding affidavit, the applicants rely heavily on affidavits that were deposed to by former National Director of Public Prosecutions, Vusi Pikoli, and Anton Ackerman, who was a senior prosecutor in the component that investigated TRC cases, where they alleged that there were attempts by former government officials and high-ranking members of the executive, as well as administrative officers in the Department of Justice and the Presidency, who interfered in the prosecution and investigation of TRC cases.
Yeah, and it was the former prosecution's boss, Vusi Pikoli, who said that senior members of Thabo Mbeki's administration actually actively blocked the prosecution of apartheid atrocity cases, out of fear, according to Vusi Pikoli, that senior ANC leaders may themselves face TRC-linked charges. Mbeki has denied any kind of political interference. But would you say that the pursuit of justice for these claimants here is in part based on this kind of information that's, you know, decades old at this stage, or at least over a decade old, from Vusi Pikoli? How would they have arrived at this conclusion that their cases were, in fact, according to them, sabotaged?
Yeah, so the applicants also asked the president to establish a commission of inquiry to investigate amongst others, the allegations that Vusi Pikoli made, but to determine who interfered in the prosecution and investigation of TRC cases. So Vusi Pikoli's affidavit, for example, would form a part of the evidence that would be heard by the commission of inquiry, and it would be up to the commission of inquiry to determine who was responsible, who were the actors who were involved. So those specificities must still be determined, but there is certainly a basis based on the affidavits of Pikoli, Ackerman, Chris McAdam, and also Turi Pretorius, who deposed the affidavits on behalf of the NPA in the case of Yao Rodriguez, where they admitted that there was attempts by politicians to interfere. So those allegations would need to be tested by the commission of inquiry.
And were the former president and former justice minister mentioned by name in this application, or is it a case of the office that they happened to hold at the time?
In some instances, there's allegations where President Thabo Mbeki, in his capacity as deputy president, and Brigitte Mabandla, in her capacity of Minister of Justice, were part of meetings where discussions were had with Vusi Pikoli about the the investigation and prosecution of TRC cases, and also where there's allegations made that Thabo Mbeki led a delegation of ANC members who led with former generals of the South African National Defence Force, where there was discussions about the future of TRC cases in a post-democratic dispensation. But generally, the allegations are that under their leadership and the interference took place.
All right. Well, that case resumes at 1:45. Jos Venter, let me thank you for your time. He's an associate with Wentzel.